Hi guys, welcome to Office Blokes React. I'm Office Bloke Dave.
I'm Office Bloke Mike.
I'm Office Bloke Daz.
Collectively we are the Office Blokes.
Yep.
It is true. Doing some current affairs, aren't we?
Hey, it looks like it, doesn't it? Yeah.
Although it's 2021.
Yeah, it's near enough. But before we get to that, we are the Office Blokes, and Office Bloke Mike is going to tell you about our Patreon page.
Go and have a look at patreon.com, put in Office Blokes React. I've got loads of stuff on there, so exclusive podcasts every week. And some of them reminded me as well, I think it might have been Jeff, that we've got the David Beckham skit on there as well, which apparently is quite popular with a lot of people, so that's on the Patreon channel.
And James Corden.
James Gimp Corden.
That's the fella, we've got starting just £1.50. We've got loads of other exclusive videos on there, Chappelle's and Key and Peele's, all sorts of stuff. So, yeah, if you've got a sport channel, go down there, check it out.
Nice, fair enough. Mixed it up a little bit there,
well, I'm trying.
How much?
£1.50.
How much in American?
About $2, approximately.
Per month, and you get all that content.
Yeah, and in fact, talk about per month, you can actually get 12 months for a price of 10 now if you pay annually, so even cheaper.
Nice.
So
there's now no excuse not to be a patron, is there?
I don't think so, no.
None whatsoever. Right, Russia versus United States, who would win military comparison 2021?
We might find out soon.
Well, we're filming.
Seconds away, round one.
We're filming this on the day that Russian tanks have just gone into the Ukraine.
That's correct. Yeah.
I watched his speech last night, Vladimir Putin. Stayed up late last night watching some shit on the TV that was going down because I thought it's going to escalate in the next day or so, isn't it? It's going to get big, and it's a problem all over the place. This, it's, with what's going on. And his speech last night, he was proper angry.
Was he?
Yeah, scared me. I'm like, just let him do what he wants.
Yeah,
he's a proper angry man, isn't he?
I think he is, isn't he? Yeah, definitely.
I hope we're not on the verge of World War III. Really, it'd be so shit.
Well,
it really was.
I was watching the news just before we came down, and Boris was doing his talk, and funny enough, he's called Boris.
I know, yeah.
Talking about Russia, and he was pretty firm.
Yeah.
With all the
there's economic sanctions already.
Some
of
them are big sanctions that are coming in. They've already put three on the list, and 5 Russian banks all got sanctioned straight away.
That's right. Yep. So there's going to be a lot of that going about.
Serious, and Germany have pulled the plug on that gas pipeline.
Really?
The Nord Stream 2, is it? Yep.
That's right, correct.
So the shit's going down.
That was sort of about to open as well, I think, wasn't it? Fairly soon. So
yeah.
The crazy thing is, though, when you back someone into a corner, they're the most dangerous, aren't they? And he's pushing our buttons, then we might back him into a corner, and then it might actually.
Well, then he's got China and Iran, North Korea all on his side, and that's the lunatic society, then, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're all together.
Just as like global trade slowed down because of the pandemic, and the supply chains are absolutely fucked everywhere, so people can't get anything.
Yeah.
Oil prices went rocketed today.
Really?
Yeah, they went over $100 a barrel again.
Yeah,
today.
Because they're quite high anyway, aren't they, at the moment? So
it's not going to be good for anyone on any side. That's for sure. If it does properly kick off, I hope it doesn't. It's the last thing we need.
Well, let's find out who'd win.
Yeah. Russia versus United States, who would win military comparison. It is worth noting as well, it's not just America that.
Well, it's going to be NATO. It would have been NATO.
Yeah, of course.
There was a few videos that I tried to queue up for NATO, but it were a little bit older.
Yeah.
And it wasn't so I thought this would be the best comparison. We like infographics as well.
I'm just caveating that before the whole comment section is people saying, but what about? This is just for an example, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah, of course,
correct.
Yeah, right, well, let's do it. Russia versus United States, who would win? Let's do it.
This video is sponsored by Conflict of Nations, the free online. There's also the link now. The United States before, but now that we're on the eve of the inauguration of the 46th U.S. president, we thought it was a topic worth revisiting. Currently, the USA is still ranked #1 when it comes to military power, and Russia #2. This year, both countries increased the number of active personnel, with the U.S. going from approximately 1,281,900 serving in 2019 to 1.4 million currently serving. Russia went from 771,000 serving in 2019 to 1,013,628 currently serving. The U.S.'s number of reservists increased from 811,000 to 860,000, while Russia continued to maintain 2 million reservists. Based on population, the U.S. continues to have a much larger pool of applicants available for military conscription. However, due to Russia's forces continuing to be a majority conscription service rather than professional volunteers, Russia still holds an advantage for conscription and mobilizing its citizens for the first year of a war before morale issues and training would impact troop numbers. In 2019, the U.S. spent...
That's an interesting one, that actually, conscription. I didn't know they had it in Russia.
I didn't know they spoke English.
It's just, could be the difference between people who want to be there and want to be active military personnel and people that are dragged into it that don't want to be there.
I think there's a lot of conscripts that aren't particularly keen on the idea, isn't there?
Yeah.
A lot of them, so...
Yeah, I know a guy that was in the TA, in the Territorial Army over here.
SAS?
No.
Saturdays and Sundays?
No. He served when he was younger in the proper army, and then it's basically our version of the army reserves, isn't it? The TA.
Yeah.
And at 45, they called him up and said, "You're going to Afghanistan," and they sent him out for a 6-month tour of Afghanistan.
Yeah.
He'd not been active military personnel for a while at that point.
Wow.
But they're people that want to do it, though, aren't they?
He wanted to do it when he was
they
younger.
volunteered for it, don't they?
He didn't want to do it
at 45.
Yeah,
Well,
45.
in Afghanistan,
I'm sure.
He wanted to be in Hereford as a chef.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about $731 billion in military expenditures and is projected to spend $750 billion in 2020.
Wow.
Russia spent $65.1 billion in 2019 and is projected to spend $66.3 billion in 2020. Russia still has the most combat tanks, 12,950 versus the US's 6,289, and a stronger land-based artillery system than the US. Of course, most of those nearly 13,000 tanks are currently mothballed Cold War models, which would require weeks of refurbishing to get operational and would not fare well on a modern battlefield. Both countries are currently undertaking massive multiple-year projects with the object of streamlining and modernizing their fighting forces. In the spring of 2020, the first batch of upgraded T-90M Prahiv battle tanks were delivered to Russian troops. The tanks have been fitted with a new multi-channel sighting system that enables weapons to be employed at any time of day and night, and can also exchange data with other vehicles in real time. In June, an improved Project 955 Alpha or Bory Alpha strategic nuclear-powered missile-carrying submarine entered into service with the Russian Navy. The fourth-generation sub had initially been planned to be delivered at the end of 2019. It featured improved maneuvering, depth, and armament control systems. All Bory-class submarines have the capacity to carry 16 Bulava ballistic missiles and boast 533mm torpedo tubes. However, the U.S. continues to dominate in naval and air power. Also in the spring this year, the U.S. placed an order for 78 new F-35 fighters at a cost of $4.7 billion. These aircraft will be split between the U.S. Air Force, Navy, and Marine Corps. In November, the Navy modified its contracts with Newport News Shipbuilding to speed up the build and delivery of the John F. Kennedy. This second of the planned naval carriers is now slated for delivery on June 30th, 2024, and will have the necessary equipment to operate the F-35C fighter instead of being upgraded later. Russia continues...
Did we react to a video about aircraft carriers ages ago?
Don't know.
There was one that had aircraft carriers in it. I'm not sure if it's specifically for aircraft carriers, though. I think it's some other sort of military hardware. But
going off what they're talking about here, I mean, the spend, USA spend compared to anyone else is just ridiculous.
amazing.
Isn't it? Yeah, it's massive.
Yeah.
Massive.
absolutely incredible.
You know, that was one of the debates today in Parliament about the moving the GDP up, the percentage of GDP up on military spend. You know, because obviously things like this are happening. But I thought it was a NATO requirement anyway. But I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I thought it was a NATO
Possibly
requirement.
could
A
be.
certain percentage you had to dedicate to
Yeah, you'd guess so,
Right.
wouldn't you? Really, it
to
should
military.
be. Yeah.
or defence systems anyway. But when I look at Russia, I'm just picturing them turning up with like bayonets, like just all them stupid hats they wear. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's mad. I just think there's too much. I think there's too much technology on the western sides for Russia to combat.
Oh, for a conventional war, without a doubt, I think. Yeah, I think you're right.
I wouldn't underestimate Russia by
No,
a long
not
way,
at all.
But I just think that if it did go to an all-out war, I think it's just too much firepower
Yeah,
across the world.
I think you're right.
I think it'd be a disaster for everyone involved.
Oh, probably.
I don't think it'd be an
Of course it
easy win.
No,
Any war would be-
no war's an easy win.
Any war's a disaster, isn't it?
Yeah.
No matter which way you look at it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and plus the Russian people are quite a tough industrious
probably,
people, aren't
probably
they?
the toughest on the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you compare like your average.
Yeah, you're fighting bears, remember, as well.
Yeah, well, precisely.
Flying helicopters and tanks.
Places where life can be a little harder, it tends to breed harder people, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So you've got that's what you're contending with. Some really fucking
Yeah,
tough
Vodka
people.
drinking bears and
Yeah.
shit. You know what I mean?
To test the Su-57 stealth fighter, their answer to the U.S.'s F-35 aircraft. However, the first operational Su-57 aircraft crashed during a test flight in December of 2019. They've experienced several development problems, especially with creating the second-generation engine for the aircraft. Currently, the Su-57 is delayed until the mid-2020s at the earliest. At the end of 2019, the U.S. gained a new separate military service branch when President Trump signed the Space Force into being. As of now, the U.S. is the only country with an independent force meant to protect its interests in space. So,
I thought that was a joke. I really thought that was a joke. I saw memes of it and stuff like Trump's Space Force. I thought, wow,
A bit out there, that, isn't it?
It is a bit,
Literally.
isn't it? Yeah, very much so.
I mean,
Wow.
it's less than a drop in the ocean, isn't it? It's like if someone's going to attack one of your satellites, what are you going to do? Like fire a rocket up and go and find them?
I know.
Wow.
Bizarre.
America has the advantage if aggressive aliens come calling at the same time as
Oh,
fighting
wow.
Russia. Over the last year or so, the relationship between the U.S. and Russia has continued to deteriorate. Due to Russia's deployment of SSC-8 missiles, the U.S. officially withdrew from the INF Treaty on August 2, 2019. The INF Treaty had banned U.S. and Russia land-based nuclear, ballistic, and cruise missiles, as well as missile launchers with short-medium ranges of 500 to 1,000 kilometers and intermediate ranges of 1,000 to 5,500 kilometers. Currently, there are no plans to revive this treaty. In 2021, New START, or Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, is set to expire. The treaty limits both nations to deploying 1,550 nuclear warheads over 700 delivery systems. This includes intercontinental ballistic missiles, submarine-launched ballistic missiles, and bombers. It also allows for 18 on-site inspections every
One of the
year that
military-
allow each side to
Russian
keep a
military.
close eye on each other's capabilities. Currently, Russia and the Trump administration have held a number of talks to extend the treaty by up to 5 years, but haven't yet come to an agreement. In the last year, several incidents have occurred between troops, highlighting the tensions between U.S. and Russia. A U.S. Air Force B-52 bomber was harassed by Russian fighter jets while flying over the Black Sea and international waters. 6 Russian warplanes flew so close to Alaska that Air Force F-22s scrambled to intercept them. 7 U.S. soldiers were injured when a Russian armored vehicle deliberately rammed an American patrol in northeast Syria. A Russian military intelligence unit secretly offered bounties to Taliban-linked militants for killing coalition forces in Afghanistan, including targeting American troops. When officials briefed President Trump regarding the bounties, he opted to accept Putin's denial of the matter and not take further action. In 2020, Russia continued its military actions in Ukraine and its occupation of Crimea. Also, Russia sent troops to prop up the Assad regime in Syria, as well as provided aircraft and personnel to Libya. Russia is currently working on a deal with Sudan to build a naval base in the country as part of its strategic bid to gain military and economic influence in the Red Sea region. In return, Russia will provide free military equipment to Sudan to establish an air defense system protecting naval facilities at Port Sudan. Most recently, Russia brokered a ceasefire treaty between Armenia and Azerbaijan over the disputed separatist region of Nagorno-Karabakh, while NATO declared itself neutral and opted to stay out of the fray. In November, Russia deployed some 2,000 troops to the region for peacekeeping. If the Russian-brokered treaty holds in Nagorno-Karabakh, it'll be a diplomatic coup for Russia and strengthen their influence and position in the region. On the other hand, President Trump has continued to pursue America First trade policies. He withdrew the U.S. from the Paris Climate Agreement, as well as verbally attacked NATO and the World Health Organization. Over the objections of NATO allies, in July, President Trump announced a plan to remove some 12,000 troops from Germany, claiming that Germany and NATO were using America while underfunding their obligations. The troop removal will be an expensive, multiple-year process. Also this fall, after several contentious wars of words, the U.S. withdrew thousands of troops from Iraq and Afghanistan. Trump's isolationist doctrine has put the U.S. at odds with NATO and various allies. Many leaders are hoping that with the Biden administration comes a global-minded, comprehensive foreign policy. Both countries focused on and improved cybersecurity in 2020.
There's not a lot NATO can really say to America. You know, when the shit hits the fan, it'll be like, you know, we're allies at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, they're all, I mean, I don't know how many countries are members of NATO. 52, is it?
There's quite a few. There's a lot of them, isn't there?
I might be wrong with that number. I don't know where I've got that from. That might be weeks in a year.
It's definitely weeks in a year. But yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think there was that many in NATO, but I could be completely wrong about it. I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
No, so how many
Yeah, I don't
countries
know.
are in the world?
190 odd.
So like half of 190 odd, did you say?
218, I think.
Right.
I thought
Are
it
we
was
just
290 something.
We're just throwing out numbers and
Yeah.
just making stuff up.
Let us know when you got a full house, 24 corners or a line.
Yeah, but it's, the sort of tensions between NATO and the States as well, though. It's not like,
Well, I think them tensions were with Trump and NATO as opposed to the USA. And
Yeah,
NATO.
probably.
Right,
Yeah.
I think that's
So-
what's
so you
coming
think
about there. And
they've
that's what you just
kinda-
said there. The foreign policy may change with Biden coming in. They
Yeah.
might look at a revamped, more glable strategic
Yeah, you're
sort of
probably
thing.
right there.
But I'm interested there with Russia, with Sudan in that area.
Yeah, I was
Corner of
thinking that
Africa and all
myself.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's
Getting a foothold in that region as well.
yeah,
It's,
and they've obviously got
interesting.
Iran on the north of sort
Yeah.
of like the Middle East, and then you've got Sudan
Yeah.
on the south of it, and then China on the other side. And
Yep.
Yeah, true, yeah.
strategic position. I'm sure he's got sort of
But then-
partners down in South America as well.
But America everywhere also, I think.
Oh yeah,
They've
big
got
time.
bases
Yeah,
absolutely everywhere.
Oh, it's all
so-
about strategy, isn't it? Where
Yeah.
you plant,
Of course it is, yeah.
plant your bases.
Yeah.
Thing is, if you like, we did that video of the American bases all around the world,
Yeah.
didn't we? And it showed like practically
Yeah, that's right.
everywhere where
Yeah.
there was a base,
It's amazing, yeah.
and you can see people like Russia looking at that, going, you've got bases surrounding our sort of places. We don't like that, and you can kind of see why there'd be aggression and pushback from the other side.
Yes,
Especially if you want to be the number one economy, and then
Yeah.
America is, and China want to be the number one economy. It kind of is almost guaranteed you're going to have these sort of situations.
There's a lot of friction going on every day, isn't there? Jockeying
Yeah.
for positions
Of
for
course there
different
is.
things.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is it's coming to fruition now. I mean, especially now, he's gone more aggressive with something like annexing Luhansk and Donetsk.
Donetsk, that's right, yeah.
What he's got there, because he's already done Crimea. So he's annexed these two places now, and it all comes at the end of the Americans being in Afghanistan as well. And remember, they tried to take Afghanistan once before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Chechnya and all around that.
yeah.
yeah.
They definitely want a foothold near Ukraine, don't they? Because they're worried about NATO and America getting closer to them. I think that's what they're looking at, isn't it? Well, it's a strange one as well, because also Ukraine's like a friendly country to them as well, isn't it? A lot of Ukrainians and Russians are pretty much from the same sort of cut from the same cloth, aren't they?
Yeah.
So
That's one thing I've heard a couple of times is Ukrainian officials, certain ones, and some Ukrainian people saying that they're basically Russian.
Well,
Yeah,
I
absolutely,
was watching a program last night, or a channel last night, and they had Ukrainians on there saying we need Russia to change us, if you know what I mean. So we're fed up of the way Ukraine is treating us. We want Russia to come in, and we want to be Russian.
Yeah.
So and you keep out of it.
Yeah.
You know?
In a way, when it's put like that, it's a bit of a sort of like local sort of thing, really, isn't it? Yeah. But obviously, it's a bit more than that, isn't it, in the world stage? But it's a tough one.
I wonder if this peacekeeping mission,
They seem to be doing it around a few places, didn't they? Did you notice that? So
Yeah.
Russia sent troops in for peacekeeping. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then how many UN peacekeeping forces have been sent to countries
I think
around the
if that's
world?
what he wants, then I think he'll pull back a bit. If he gets his foothold in there, the two places you just said, I think maybe if he gets that, then it could be a fact that you might think, well, right, that's it, don't push it any further, sort of thing.
There's loads going on though, even when they push it going into them places. It's, it's
Yeah, I
against
can
sovereignty
imagine,
of
yeah.
Ukraine. It's not something
Yeah.
you can do.
Yeah.
So they're talking about banning them from all sporting activities, and but
Yeah.
Champions League's there this season. It's in
Oh,
St.
is it?
It's in St. Petersburg.
Ah,
And they're
interesting.
talking about pulling that.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet they are. There'll be a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
Sanctions and all sorts.
I wonder if when, at the start of the Second World War, when Germany invaded Poland and no one really did anything about it, and then it was like you kind of allow them to get away with things.
Well, they're saying. I was reading a paper that was saying about a news article saying that the blueprint, what he's got here, Putin going into Ukraine, is identical with Hitler. Going into Czechoslovakia.
Yeah. So and that's what I'm thinking. Like the Allies were slow to act in the Second World War and let Hitler get more of a foothold than he necessarily would have done, and maybe allowing the Russians to take Crimea. It's just the gateway into that.
Russia's they've got Crimea already.
No,
for a
but
few
that's maybe something should have been done about that.
Yeah.
Which would have nipped all this in the bud. You know what I'm saying? And now Ukraine is just the next progression from there.
I remember when they annexed Crimea for Russia, and the border was there, and all the soldiers were sort of like they were facing each other pretty much. You remember it?
Yeah.
And it just looked like a bunch of football hooligans going at each other.
Yeah.
It looked like, it just looked like it's going to be a crazy fight in a minute.
Yeah.
So,
Kick off.
but they did anyway. Yeah.
Just let them take it, leave loads and loads of crates of vodka behind, and then when they're all pissed up, then go and take it back.
Nick it back when they're dozing.
The bears will be on standby there then.
Yeah.
Putin continued to deny that Russia used cyber techniques to attack elections in the US and other countries, as well as hacking into emails from the Department of Defense and undertaking political and social disinformation campaigns. While many officials urged action, President Trump has seemed to take Putin's denials at face value. In the fall, President Putin issued a written statement for a cyber truce, even outlining a 4-point plan for what he called a reboot in the relationship between the US and Russia in regards to information security. However, the proposal ignored previous incidents. Furthermore, some academic experts think that a cyber treaty isn't feasible. Arms treaties have worked because access to nuclear weapons is very limited. However, cyber weapons are controlled by countries, criminal groups, activists, and teenagers. States can conduct cyber activities through black ops using proxies, including criminal.
Some of the highest profile hackers have just been little kids in their mum's basements, haven't
Which
they?
is always a worry as well, isn't it?
Yeah. There was a British kid that hacked. Did he hack NASA and the CIA? And
He
was
had
like
autism, didn't he?
Yeah, he's like an
Yeah.
autistic kid that was just sat.
Incredible.
It was all just code to
I
him.
don't think he was like that young of a kid though, because I think he was 30 odd when he got trialed.
There was definitely one that was.
Wasn't he like 33?
There was someone that was like 12, 13 that did it. I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I think. I don't know. I don't know.
It does
how often
happen,
this
doesn't it,
happens,
boys? Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it, when they do it when that young? But yeah, it's frightening, isn't it, what they can do?
Give them a job. That's what you do when you're the government.
I think they have done it before, haven't they? I'm sure in America they've done it before, where this guy hacked like Department of Defense or something like that. I'm sure he ended up getting a job with them.
Is that the movie Hackers?
It maybe is.
This guy's calling them the
Sounds
Russains
like it.
now. We'll let the Russains know.
It'd be nearly impossible to enforce such a treaty. President-elect Biden has signaled that he'll have a harsher stance in regards to Russian cyber operations. COVID-19 has had an effect on both the U.S. and Russian militaries. In the U.S., the Defense Department issued an order in late March prohibiting the deployment of service members for 60 days to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. Later, revised guidelines were issued mandating troops tested for COVID-19 and a 14-day quarantine prior to deployment. The Defense Department also canceled, postponed, or significantly reduced previously planned major military exercises. Additionally, Navy ships have been kept out at sea longer and are making fewer port calls to minimize the risk of infection. A 4-tier testing program for the entire U.S. force was established. The program prioritizes strategic and fielded forces, followed by forward deployed troops, and then the rest of the force. A similar program will likely be created when a vaccine becomes available. After a few new recruits tested positive, all the military services paused basic training for new recruits to implement new safety procedures. A 14-day quarantine period was added, as well as a program where new recruits are continuously tested for COVID-19 and monitored with daily health assessments during basic training. Class sizes have been reduced and some training exercises limited. These tactics and others have gone a long way to slow the spread of the coronavirus in U.S. forces. On October 22nd, the U.S. military had a rate of 2,387 cases per 100,000 personnel, a slightly lower rate than the overall U.S. population, which at the time was 2,527 cases per 100,000. The military continues to remain vigilant about limiting COVID-19 infections whenever possible, realizing that the virus is a threat to national security. Russia also implemented plans to slow COVID infection. On March 12th, the Kremlin created highly centralized operational level headquarters, headed up by the first deputy minister to oversee the COVID-19 response in the armed forces. Among other duties, the headquarters manages medical equipment and supplies for the forces, as well as monitoring rates of infection and creating health guidelines for troops. A 3-day readiness assessment for COVID-19 was carried out across all Russian army branches in late March. This allowed the general staff to tweak the duties and areas of responsibility of the armed forces in terms of emergency preparedness and response, medical support, and other tasks. Also, 16 prefabricated temporary medical centers were built in underserved military districts. New safety rules and an aggressive testing regime was installed across Russian military bases and compounds. Meanwhile, combat training continued as usual across all forces. The draft for some 135,000 conscripts was temporarily delayed from April 1st until April 13th, while a testing and 14-day quarantine process was implemented for new conscripts. Up until early May, the Russian government claimed that Russian troops were officially COVID-19 free. State media reported that in the thousands of tests conducted since mid-March, no servicemen tested positive. However, when soldiers began to leak eyewitness reports, only then did the Ministry of Defense reluctantly admit to a few cases. It
does seem like a very sensationalist thing to say, that there's no COVID in the whole army. the likelihood of that at the height of the pandemic is just
especially with the size of the army as well.
Yeah.
It's
there's no
probably
way.
unlikely, I would suggest.
Now, information is limited as to the spread of COVID-19 in the Russian forces. From March 1st to September 15th, 2020, there were 12,066 confirmed coronavirus cases in the armed forces and another 1,509 cases among civilian personnel, making for an estimated 1.6% of the military and 0.2 to 0.25% of civilian personnel contracting COVID-19. It'll be interesting to see the long-term effects the pandemic has on both the U.S. and Russian militaries, the allocation of funds for military budgets, and strategic doctrine. Thanks to our sponsor, Conflict of Nations.
Interesting.
My money's on the USA.
Yeah, I
Always.
probably be with you there. Absolutely. I mean, like I said before at the start, the budget was absolutely mind-blowing, wasn't it? Like 750 to 780 billion or something.
They're just miles more well-equipped.
Yeah.
Yeah, the actual standard equipment.
Mentally, physically, equipment-wise, technology-wise, everything about it, they trump it.
Yeah.
I was going to say allies as well, but then you forget that Russia have got China, they've got Iran.
Yeah.
There's some combined forces. It'd be...
Yeah, but we're that close with Germany, us, France. Well, France.
I was going to say...
France can carry the white flags.
I know, They can provide the cheese while everyone else
I think
fights.
America has got pretty much everyone else on the side, haven't they?
Yeah.
You look at like South America, Australasia,
The other
and
thing
places like that.
is, would China want to jump in?
I don't think
No,
so.
I think it can help it.
Do you know what I mean?
Why would they? I mean, it's like a local European thing, isn't it, with Ukraine? I mean, China haven't got not exactly best buddies with Ukraine either, are they?
No.
I'm sure they get on, but I mean...
So the ones you got to watch out for is like Iran, China, places.
It's when the US were going into Iran, don't forget, because they're, Russia are big allies of theirs. I mean, Russia didn't go into it, did they? They weren't stupid. They stayed out of it as well, pretty much, didn't they?
Yeah.
Do you mean like when the Americans killed the Iranian, was he a commander? Do you remember they shot him with a missile a couple of years ago?
Yeah,
It was
no,
like a really high-ranking
Wasn't
officer.
it Ayatollah, was it?
I can't remember who it was.
I think I meant Iraq, actually, not Iran.
Oh, right,
but
okay.
I do know, there was someone high
the-
ranking that was sort of like...
Because the Russians didn't do anything about that, did they?
yeah, but in
They just
Iraq,
stepped back.
obviously, they're, again, allies with Hussein, weren't they, Russia? But, they didn't sort of like go at America then, did they? Because it's probably new
same
to
with
sort of
Libya.
like diplomatic things and the
But it's the
words
nutcase
and stuff.
It's the nutcase society, isn't it? It's all the nutters. Any country that's got a nutter in it, they're all together, them, aren't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know.
sometimes it's better the devil you know as well, isn't it?
That's why Scotland haven't jumped on board.
Well, on Russia's side.
Sturgeon does seem like a bit of a communist.
Nutters, that's what I'm saying,
Yeah,
Stoke will be with them anyway, we know that.
Should be at the front line giving it,
Hey, you! See you.
I mean, jokes aside, it'd be an absolute disaster if
Yeah,
this
of course
kicks
it would.
off
Of course it would.
properly.
Of course it would.
I can't see the general Russian population wanting it, and I know for a fact the general population in Western Europe don't want a war.
Probably
and the Americans
Probably
as
the
well.
general Russian cabinet probably actually don't, do they? They're not stupid, these people, are they?
I don't know how they voted in the friendship treaty or whatever it was this morning for Luhansk and Donetsk. For them,
did they?
What they call Donetsk people for democracy or something. I can't remember whatever the party's called.
Yeah, whenever they put democracy in the name of a party, it's the total
it's something
opposite.
like that.
It is, yeah.
And
Because
they're
they've been
both very
told to do
similar.
that as well.
They're both very similar sounding names. It's the Donetsk whatever and the Luhansk whatever, same names sort of thing, and they just signed a treaty of friendship between Russia and them, so that's why the tanks have gone into it's a bit on a peacekeeping mission.
Also, are they political movements within the Ukraine that are now allied with Russia?
Yeah.
And
Correct.
that's what's allowed the tanks to go
Correct.
into.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. Is it like a regional thing then where... What would you say?
Bit like Manchester and Liverpool,
Something like that. So they've got like their own...
letting Ireland come into...
They've got like their own parliament then, these other places there?
We'll probably have now. We'll probably put it together this morning.
Yeah.
It's like if Andy Burnham gets a hammer and sickle tattoo and decides that they can have a base in Timperley.
Mike on the march.
Use my driveway if they want for a small fee. If they'll park a couple of tanks there.
Why have we got fish?
Yeah, but fingers crossed it gets sorted, and it's just posturing. But there's no doubt that Russia are, really sort of proud people, aren't they? And they obviously have not had the best of luck since the fall of the Soviet Empire, I don't think.
I think they probably feel a bit hard done by after that, and after the Second World War as well, possibly, to a certain extent.
You can see why some people would be down for that used to be ours. We want it back, and growing the empire and expanding again. You can see.
Yeah, it's just full of corruption. It's full of corruption. It's full
That's
of
the problem, isn't it?
There's these mega problems that lie in Russia. I mean, you look at this. Is he called Navalny?
Don't know.
The guy who they poisoned in Germany, and then he went to hospital, and then now he's all right. And then he went back to Russia and got put in prison.
Yeah. Oh no,
is it Navalny? I think his name's something like Navalny.
Yeah,
or something
I
like
can't
that.
remember.
Why
what
did
it
he
was,
go
though.
back to Russia after
I
that?
think they took him back. I think,
right.
under false pretenses, and then put him in jail, and now he's in jail.
The thing is,
and then they had the guy in the UK poisoned.
Yeah.
And the other guy poisoned.
Yeah.
The one in the Salisbury.
That's right.
Well, we had Litvinenko was one of them.
Litvinenko, whatever his name was, yeah.
There was one, I watched a Mr. Ballin one about it, and it was never proven that it was the Russians, but basically a guy that was on a bus going to Westminster, I think it was, he was a politician, just got jabbed in the back of the leg, and it was like an umbrella with a little spike on the end of it. Yeah, and it had this tiny little ball with, was it polonium or something?
Yeah, polonium, I
and
remember that.
It just inserted it into his leg, just a little needle, and then he just progressively got sick over a few days and then died. And during the autopsy, they found this little minuscule metal ball that was covered in a wax, and when it goes in your body, the wax melts because of your body temperature, and then the poison comes out.
It's proper Jason Bourne.
You think
Sort of
it just doesn't happen, don't you? But it's incredible stuff.
But it's just what happens. It's Russia seems to get away with a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I think so. Yeah.
For diplomacy to stay,
well, because they're going to say the Western powers don't want World War III, so we'll just take the piss a little bit and see what we can get away with.
That's what they always. They always just push the boundaries, don't they? Without a doubt, in more ways than one. But I think it was. If it's democratic, like say Scotland want to leave Britain, they'd go to a vote, don't they? Yeah. If they don't get it, then they just carry it. They did, but lost the vote. But if it's something like
now they want another.
Well, yeah, now they want another.
Once a lifetime, play on so we win.
Yeah, once a lifetime, we didn't win, so we'll have another one though. But if it's democratic and people were voting for it, then you'd say fair enough, wouldn't you? But because it's by force, then just different, isn't it?
Maybe they just want to go and look at some church spires in the tanks.
It's true, yeah.
It's feasible, isn't it?
Take the fish on a day out.
Yeah. Nice cathedrals in the Ukraine, isn't there?
Anyway, let's see what happens. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Don't forget, like and subscribe, hit the bell, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.